It'll be 8 years next month. So my name's Nick George. I'm the Superintendent of Water and Wastewater Operations for Highlands Ranch Water, formerly Centennial Water, which we have no relation to the city of Centennial in Colorado at all. That's why we changed our name. We actually had the name first, and they came along and stole the name, and there was just a lot of confusion about who provides water to what. So we are Highlands Ranch Water. We service the community of Highlands Ranch, which is about 105,000 people in the southwest Denver metro area. And we've been here since the early 1980s, and we've been servicing Highlands Ranch since it was founded and all the way up to today, and we'll be here all the way into the future, servicing all of Highlands Ranch water needs.
So what is the treatment flow
Yeah.
in tons per year and
Yep. So
the basics of the plant?
We're here at Marcy Gulch Wastewater Treatment Plant, which is the sole wastewater service provider for Highlands Ranch. We accept all of Highlands Ranch wastewater treatment flow through this plant. It was initially designed and built in the early 1980s when Highlands Ranch was incorporated. And it was initially designed for 8.5 million gallons, which is the build-out capacity of Highlands Ranch. We typically see about 6.5 million gallons a day, and that reduction has just been improvements in water conservation and water use of our citizens. So we never really expect to get to that 8.5 million gallons per day. We'll probably settle in the high 6s to low 7s range. So, big win for Highlands Ranch, big win for the environment and the community to really focus on conservation. We're also permitted through CDPHE on the big permits that we fall under. They're called the Reg 85 permits. So we're permitted on our loading capacity for carbon, which is 23,500 pounds per day, which we typically see about 80 to 90% of that, with a small increase planned as Highlands Ranch meets its build out, but that'll probably be about where we sit forever. So good, really interesting place to work. A lot of places don't have the pre-planned community, so they have to continue to expand and expand and expand. We're lucky that we know what the build-out population is, and we know what we're going to be seeing from now until we all retire and the next generation comes in, and hopefully they see the same thing for ever going forward. Some of the other interesting permits that we fall under regulation. So we talked about carbon. The other two big ones are nitrogen and phosphorus that we have, and those are just nutrients to help protect our reservoirs and downstream partner utilities. So we try and minimize nitrogen and phosphorus discharge because that creates algal blooms and creates issues in the potable drinking water side. And the new Reg 85 was stricter nitrogen and phosphorus limits, so we fall under those. A nitrogen limit of 14 and a phosphorus limit of 1. So those were the really driving factors behind the phase 2 build out of Marcy Gulch, which started in 2019 and just finished in 2025. And then during that time, we took the opportunity to upgrade our dewatering system for the Biosolids creation at the site, and then also took the opportunity to switch from a daily loading to put in storage of biosolids on site.
And that's where you had all the trailers that you had to move around.
Yep.
So tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the previous operation was we still dewater our digested solids, which is how we stabilize and treat all the solids we remove from the wastewater. We stabilized it, so we still currently have anaerobic digesters. There was improvements to those, but just the process didn't really change. And then we still have our current dewatering or our previous dewatering was centrifuges. We just upgraded and updated the centrifuges to handle our build-out capacity for dewatering. The big change was in what we did with the biosolids. So previously we would park a trailer. We load about a trailer a day on average throughout the year. A little bit less during the winter, a little bit more during the summer, but about one average trailer a day. We would park that trailer underneath a chute that the biosolids would drop out of the centrifuge into the chute. They would be conveyed up and then drop into the trailer. It was a very big logistical nightmare. We had to make sure that we had trailers on site for every day and in reserve capacity in case we needed to dewater more than we were expecting. And that ran into a huge issue, especially during like winter months where the roads are icy, the hauling company wasn't able to get us the amount of trailers we needed on site. So it would throw off the process. We would have to store our dewatered or our digested sludge in a external storage site and then feed it back to the digesters, which the digesters didn't really love. So stabilizing that process was a huge goal. And then also getting rid of the having to park a trailer underneath a chute and move a trailer and manually load a trailer. Took about 4 to 6 man hours a day just in moving this trailer around and getting it positioned and having it in the right spot so that we made sure that the dewatered biosolids were in the right position and weren't loaded poorly inside the trailer, and all of the headaches with that. And then really so stabilize the process, minimize man hours for dewatering and loading, and the third one always is safety. And I'm sure you'll have a video of the hill, but
I do.
The truck was parked in a very unsafe manner. It was at a very steep incline. So the trailer, as it gets loaded, gets up to 20 tons, so it's a very heavy trailer. It's a lot of weight to rely on the truck brakes, essentially, to hold it back. And in September of 2018, we actually had an incident where the truck brakes gave out, and the fully loaded truck and trailer rolled down this very large hill and jumped the curb and ran down the embankment in very near to our discharge or receiving body. We were very lucky that the truck didn't tip at all. We had no spillage of the biosolids, but it was just a very key, evident driving factor of safety. Is often the last thing that we think about, but it is often the most important thing that we should be thinking about. And so taking the opportunity to change how we store biosolids and the loading process became very evident in the front of all of our minds at that time.
So then you went over to Boulder, where there was an RDP storage bin there, took a look at that.
Yep. So we, as part of the project, as part of the design for it, we were obviously kicking around a bunch of different ideas and a bunch of different vendors for what we wanted to do and how we were going to do biosolid storage going forward. One of the places we went and saw was the Boulder wastewater treatment facility that had installed this RDP hopper storage system. We also went and saw Metro's, which is a different vendor but similar principle of biosolid storage on site. And we liked what we saw. We liked the idea of having simplified operation and having storage on site. We took some of the things that we saw between the two of them. Metro has a pull-through facility, which we liked a lot. It simplified the flow path, the driving path at the treatment plant, versus Boulder didn't have this pull-through. They have to back trailers in still. So we took the plan that Metro uses of the pull-through and incorporated that into our design. but we really liked the RDP system that we saw versus, I can't remember what Metro has, but the Metro system that they had, and so we selected RDP as the hopper vendor or provider for the project, just because we liked the look of them and we liked the way that they would fit into the footprint at Marcy Gulch.
And the load cell technology is like so precise.
Yep, and
I think that's a big advantage to the way that we do it.
Yep, one of the headaches that we had was we were essentially guessing at every trailer we would load, because even though the process is stable, there's variability in the process. So we were essentially guessing at how much weight we had put in each trailer, which had caused friction in the past with our hauling company. Of sometimes we would overload a trailer unintentionally, just because the process changed and we weren't able to capture that. So sometimes we'd overload and we would have to remove solids, or we'd have to pay extra. There'd be a surcharge for that. And then sometimes the flip side, we would underload and we would end up paying for what we weren't actually hauling. So the system now has been dialed in to where it's less than 10% all of the time. So if we're targeting that 20,000 or 21,000 or 20 tons or 21 tons, we're within anywhere between 19.8 and 20.8 tons going into the trailer, which is improved. It's a cost savings and cost improvement for us, which is very nice, and it's simplified the process because we're not guessing anymore. We know exactly how much weight is in the hoppers. We know exactly how much weight we want to load into the truck, and the variability and the headache of guessing and checking and trying to anticipate process changes has gone down dramatically since we've installed the hoppers.
Tell us how your operator communicates with the truck driver. I'm amazed that it's just a couple of $20, I call walkie-talkies.
Yep.
So go ahead and explain that, please.
Yeah. So the initial design and process of the RDP system was to essentially be a one-person job, where the truck driver would essentially say, "This is the load I want." They would come out, they would enter it in. They would get underneath the chutes, line themselves up under the chutes, and then the system would know where the truck's at to be able to load it, which was good. It just required the truck driver essentially to get out of the truck, be familiar with the operation, and so there was it wasn't a huge issue. It just took a little bit more time than what we really wanted, and the time for the truck drivers doing these hauling, it's their money and we're paying them for that. So the goal was to minimize how much time the truck driver spent on site, and the easiest way to do that was to keep the truck driver in the cab and have a second person essentially telling them when to move the truck forward, and slowly, it's essentially just a slow creep where the truck comes in, the operator lines them up, they open the chute, and then the truck just slowly moves forward at the direction of the operator, saying, time to make a new pile, time to make a new pile. And we were able to get down from our initial about an hour of a loading time to about 20 minutes. And it was all operator driven. They, were having to yell to the truck driver, and you can't really hear over the truck. And so they were having to move the truck forward and back it up, and just caused some headaches with the loading of it. So they went out and bought simple radios, and the truck driver has a radio, and the operator who's essentially running the show has a radio, and they're able to communicate with the truck driver, telling them when to move forward and when to stop, so that we get very nice even loads all the way through the trailer, and really just minimizing the time that the truck driver is on site. So we got down from that initial about hour to hour and a half loading to about 20 minutes is probably that's the best I've ever been able to do with it. I'm sure right around that range is probably the record that someone has, but that's 20 minutes from the time the truck shows up at our gate to the time that they're leaving our gate, and that's again, a huge cost improvement, a huge man-hour improvement for us. And it was all operator driven. They figured it out themselves. They figured out the best way to do it, and they've really taken ownership of that, which is really great to see and really a nice benefit of the system.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit about when they first started and how it was operators were fighting to get up and load the truck, and it was new.
Yep. So the with the huge improvements, we basically everywhere in the plant site there's new equipment, there's new machinery, there's new processes, but probably the crowning jewel that everyone talks about is that the loading has just gone from this huge headache and this very man-hour intensive parameter to essentially 20 minutes, half an hour that the operator spends up there. And because they were able to see that so much and they weren't having to spend all of this time up there, they really latched onto that as the highlight of the project. And for the first couple of months, it would essentially be a race to whoever sees the truck come in would race up there because they wanted to do the load versus some of the other people. So we had to implement, hey, everyone has to get a turn to play with the system. Everyone has to get a chance to do the loading and be familiar with the system, because people would unfortunately camp up there when they knew the truck was coming, so they'd spend more time up there than they needed to, just because they were so excited to do the load, because it's such a drastic improvement from what we had been historically doing.
One of the things that amazes me since I've been here a couple of days that after the truck leaves, there's nothing on the floor.
Yep.
I mean, it's clean. I mean, there's some brooms up there, but they don't even use them. There's nothing falls on the floor.
Yep. And the operators have really taken a lot of pride in keeping that facility clean. There's always going to be a little bit here or there that doesn't make it into the truck, but they take a lot of pride in cleaning up every day and sweeping it out, every week, and doing a good job to make sure that it is new. It's new and it's fancy and it's shiny now, and we want to keep it that way forever. And so they've really taken it on themselves to clean up and to keep it looking what we call tour quality at all times, so that I never have to worry about opening the door and there being a pile there or there being an issue. They really spend a lot of time and energy focused on that building specifically. I wish I could get them to do that in other places, but that it all comes with time, and they're just excited about it, and they've really taken ownership of it, which is nice.
Yeah, and you have some odor control ductwork up there, and you don't smell anything.
Yep.
It's clean.
Yep.
And there's no odors.
Yep. It was again another huge improvement. We when the plant was built, there was nothing here. The Highlands Ranch, was just a twinkle in someone's eye. But over the past 40 years, the land has really been used up to its maximum efficiency. So to our north, we have a retirement community, a very large community partner, and then to our east we're buffered by a golf course, but there's homes that are within 500 feet of the plant, and we trying to be a good community partner and minimize nuisance as much as possible. And the odor scrubber, the improvement with that, like you said, between where it was before, where depending on the way the wind blew, there could be a gust that blew it right into someone's kitchen window, versus now we don't have to worry about, any time of season, any time, doesn't matter what it is, there's essentially no smell from the biosolids. You get a little bit when you actually unload the truck, just because it's coming out of the hoppers into the truck, but that leaves within 20 minutes. So very much minimize that, very much trying to be conscientious of our neighbors and the community around us.
So what type of odor control system do you use?
Yep.
Just tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so it's a pure air odor control system. It's using a permanganate based media that helps absorb and oxidize the odor compounds. And so far it's been online for almost a year now. We haven't had any issues with it. The biggest maintenance upkeep, so in the future, will be to swap out the media when the media gets expended, and we'll see when that is. We kind of expect it to be on a 3-year-ish cycle, but the system is very easy. It's just, sucking out the media and putting new media in, and then we go right back into operation.
Now, is that odor control system also for the centrifuge building?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So
it serves both buildings.
Yes.
Okay.
Serves both buildings.
It's not that big.
No. It is. You see some of the old.
Physically, it's not that big.
Yep. Some of the other odor scrubbers and some of the other potentially nuisance smell areas, the headworks, in the primary treatment, secondary treatment. It's about the size of, a building that's double the footprint of that. So it's a really good, efficient system. A lot of redundancy in there, which is really nice. It's essentially set up to where the system won't run unless it has the odor scrubber on, just to maximize or minimize how much nuisance odor there is, maximize the removal from the system.
And then Denali is am I pronouncing that
Yep.
correct? Yeah, they're the hauler, but they also do the land application.
Correct.
So you're Class B,
Yes.
Biosolids, and tell us a little bit about Denali. I looked at their website. They're a very impressive company.
Yes.
And I think you said they handle like the entire state of Colorado.
Yep.
So they're bringing in municipal solids from all over the state.
Correct.
And then tell us a little bit more about what
Yeah.
they do.
So we do subcontract out our hauling to Denali. Like I said, they do about 100 customers in the eastern side of Colorado, all the way up and down the Front Range, and all of that gets hauled out east of us to land application on eastern farms out east of Brighton. And it's a really, really good process. We want to, again, be good stewards for the environment. So all of the nutrients that we capture, that we remove from the wastewater stream, are still good nutrients. So we upcycle or recycle those back into the environment, so that we're using the same pound of nitrogen and the same pound of phosphorus over and over and over again, instead of putting more phosphorus and more nitrogen back into the system. So they collect both Class B and Class A biosolids, but for the most part, Colorado is very heavily Class B focused, and so a lot of the land application is, even if it's Class A, it's treated as Class B, and so a lot of our biosolids goes to like crop feed, and we were out there last year, and they were growing bird seed out of it, growing millet and sunflowers. So, very large farms that they're using efficiently to grow these crops and to reuse these nutrients as much as possible.
That's good. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate the hospitality.
Yeah,
I've got lots of good pictures and more video.
Yeah. I'd say, is there anything else I'm just trying to think of if there's anything else that we want to cover.
I had a whole list of things. I think you covered
good
everything.
Good.
I just in your background, are you like an environmental?
Mm-hmm.
What was your degree or?
Yep. So I went to school at CSU in the environmental engineering program that they were essentially just starting up around the time that I was going through. So it's a huge program now. So I went to CSU for 5 years and got my bachelor's in environmental engineering.
Okay.
And then I actually did 6 years of active duty Army in between, and then that was 2017 when I left active duty, and I came to Centennial at the time, and currently Highlands Ranch Water, and I've been here ever since. It's a great place to work. I love the community. I love the people I work with. Yep. I will say, probably just for everyone, if you get the opportunity, or people are putting them in, the internal distribution conveyor is probably the one thing that we kick ourselves as part of the project and design for not putting in. You guys suggested, you told us to put it in.
Oh, to top off the silo?
Yep. Okay. We lose about, overall we have about 4 days of storage capacity, which was the target goal to get us through a long weekend. So 4th of July or Thanksgiving weekend. So we have about 4 to 5 days of storage capacity, just depending on the cake quality. And we lose that 5th day by not having these distribution conveyors. We lose about 20% of our capacity because we chose not to put it in. You guys told us to put it in, and we said, we don't think we need it. And
well, there is a budget.
Yep. And we went back, and now we're kicking ourselves. We got to figure out a way to get that 20% or as much of that back as possible, because every little pound helps alleviate the operator's stress on those long weekends. So coming into 4th of July weekend here, we'll have a little bit of a rodeo to make sure that we can get all the way through the weekend. So yeah, put in those distribution conveyors, and if you can, put in an extra silo, because I would love to have an entire week's worth of storage out there. Just gives us more flexibility and redundancy. It's, you can never pay enough for ease of mind, you come to find out.
I agree.
Yep.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, thank you. And like I said, we're very happy with, and we love working with you guys, and we're very impressed with the product, and we've had nothing but good things to say about it so far. And I expect that to be the same from now until, I leave, and hopefully the next people say the same thing about it too.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
That was great.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, that was easy. I just said a couple things, and you did all the work.
Hi, my name's Tyler. I'm the supervisor of operations here at Marcy Gulch Wastewater Treatment Plant. We're standing in front of our brand new hopper building provided by RDP, and I just want to say thank you to RDP, and that this was the only experience on this massive renovation project that was truly turnkey for us. There's a lot of vendors that advertise being a turnkey solution, and RDP is one of the few that can back up those words. And they did a great job. Everything from start to finish was flawless. Their technician came out, had solutions for any hiccups that came up. That's to be expected with startup, but for us, RDP was truly a turnkey setup, and we're very grateful for that.